Well, we're back to Slovenia, and in this interview, I interview Alex Simčić. Yes, I guess somehow they're all related if they have the last name. I think they're cousins, and I don't know how much one removed, twice removed, etc. But nonetheless, there is a long history and tradition in this winemaking family that comes from Brda in Slovenia. And Alex is the owner of Eddie Simčić. And one of the things I thought was really exciting when we were there was that he was building this entirely new, very modern tasting room. So you can see they're investing and they're expanding. They're becoming more approachable where the public can come in now and experience their wines like they can in many great winemaking regions of the world. So this is what the bottle looks like. I thought it was kind of a cool label, so I thought I'd hold one up here. And I want you to enjoy my interview with Alex Simčić. Alex, thank you for inviting us into your cellar here with being surrounded by beautiful wine in barrels still. So I'm excited to talk to you about what you do.
You're welcome. So we are happy to host you, and we are glad to hear that you're having a good time in our area.
We're having a very good time here. So you're a second generation winemaker. Your father started this business.
Yes. We have had before, my grandmother and great-grandmother have had some cellar, but then it was disturbed with the period after the Second World War, and then my uncles at that time left to Australia, to Argentina, as it was very high migration here, but not political, but mainly economical, because there were large families and small properties. So economy, when they have set the border, has decreased a lot because the area was really very blocked with the border on one side and geographically on the other side. Because when it was before, the majority of the market was here in front. So here were Italian cities close, so Gorizia, Udine, Trieste, and they were selling fruit, wine to that part. And when they have set the border, when the Yugoslavia was formed, it was not possible to cross the border. Besides the ones who have had the double permits with the goods, it was possible to go personal, but not commercially do the sales or those things in Italy then. And on Slovenian side here at the back are only mountains.
Right. Yeah, so it's interesting how all the local community here, which is many generations of people, there's a war, they changed, the border, and then when it was Yugoslavia, there's basically the Iron Curtain. Now you can no longer trade across that border. Yeah. So economically, it became very, very difficult.
Very, very difficult. So the first recovery signs, or the first kind of positive things, were when they have bought first cars or vans, so they have started to deliver the fruit to the markets.
Right.
Even if the road was very bad, so it took you to go to Ljubljana like 4 hours or more. So they were bringing the fruit there, and this was the first serious incomes which have helped them, the farms, the families to grow and to perform somehow better, and then step by step in mid of 80s, the ones who were a bit more ambitious have started to do the proper wine. First stages were bulk wines. It was the first step. And then the first private labels, more serious. There were some tries even earlier, but have happened in mid-80s. So the majority of the expansion have happened in 10 years, so from 85 to 95.
And what year did your father start this winery?
My father used to work at the cooperative, at the area of the production, because they've had 3 units for the vineyards management and taking care and working there. So as it was not possible to go to school for him because the family was very poor, so he started to work when he was 15. So he retired at 53.
I don't. He didn't look too retired to me.
No, but the first retirement, first retirement, and that was in '86, and before he renewed some vineyards from my mom's property, and then when he got retired, oh my God, what I will do? This was in '86, and he was born in '33, and I was too young to retire, and then he started, and then in '89 we have bottled first 3,000 bottles.
In '89, oh, I see. So he retired from his other work and then decided
Yes.
in '89 I'm going to start bottling.
Yes.
Yeah, and the first bottling I think was in
1989. Yeah.
99.
Vintage. 1989.
1989 is the first vintage.
yeah.
And as we're walking back here, because you have major construction, just built a much bigger, much more modern facility. But the first room we walked in, you said that this is the first cellar that we
Yes,
had,
yes.
and this was 3,000 bottles.
Yes, 3,000, 3 stainless steel tanks, 800 liters, 1,000 liter, and 1,100 liters.
Wow. And since then, now that was '89. Now, how many bottles do you ship a year?
We produce around between 50 and 60,000,
50 to 60,000. So that's 20 times as many.
Yes, but also the wines which at that time were more simpler, and now we do more premium level. So if we would do now the same level like that time with the production, with the crop at that time, we would do 150,000 or 120,000 bottles maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, we could easily do that.
Yeah,
but
with the
then
volume,
yes, but then the wine would be for sure the different category. And
So
different
now you're
level.
doing a much nicer wine or higher level wine.
Yes, because then in the mid 90s we have started to try the first white wines in a barrels. So that was vintage 96. And then we noticed that with the barrels we somehow feel more comfortable. We felt better, that the wines can express better, that we can get more attention from the customers. And then from 96 to 99 we were switching because it was too high investment for us to do it at once. So we did step by step, lowering the stainless steel and increasing the barrel vinification and aging. So the 99 was the last vintage where we did a small portion of stainless steel.
So now your father goes back into business in '89, 88, I guess the growing year, but '89 the first bottling. And now he's 85 years old.
Yeah.
And as we were coming in, the first thing we see is that there's a truck and all the grapes are in crates, not in a big thing, but individual crates. So I want to ask why you do it that way. And I see your father, 85 years old, and your two sons manually pulling the crates off and processing everything. We're in the harvest right now, so he's still working.
Yes, he's
and
still
working with his body.
Yeah, with the body, yes, and he's here for whole day.
The whole day.
Since 6 in the morning until 8 or 9 in the evening.
85 years old,
Yeah.
6 of them. So the wine, I guess, that lets you stay strong.
Yeah, but it seems also there is a specific genetics in this area that people really, due to the whole situations it happened to them, stayed really very firm and.
But he still has his passion, obviously.
Yes, he's so
I mean, he's got
passionate.
grandsons that can do this labor, but he wants to do it himself.
He's sometimes he's upset when he said, "Hey, go to rest a little bit, or we will do it without." No, I want to stay here. I want to see. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's so passionate, but still in very good, healthy, in shape. So he's working really all the time. We try to preserve him the really heavy works that don't allow him to go with the most modern tractor because it's a little bit sophisticated. And,
And is he still out, like, because he must know the fields very well, he must know the vineyards very well.
Yes, he really helped us a lot to understand how to manage the vineyards, how to prepare the vines that they are in balance, because we are really looking to produce the wines with balance, with elegance, with the structure which really stays properly, and this is somehow just the reflection of the very balanced vineyard. If you have the vineyard which is not really balanced, then also you cannot expect the wine to be balanced.
Right.
Yeah, that's also the reason that we are doing we are doing vinification for every single spot separately. We have very fragmented property as majority here in this area because we have rented some, we have bought some, and so we have multiple locations for one variety, and but we do separate vinifications to understand better what is the outcome in consequences of the situation in the vineyard, what we were doing, what was the status of the vines, and what is the outcome. Even if then for some wines we blend them together, but at least to have a link if we need to change something, that we had better idea, because if you blend two vineyards together, you don't know what is coming from which.
Right. Right. Yeah. So you have to break it down, I guess, into smaller areas. And what's unusual, you produce about 50% red wines and about 50% white. Most people are doing predominantly white. So what got you to make that decision?
Yeah, area is predominantly white, also historically was. So I think that the plantation is like 2/3 white, 1/3 red. Our situation was like that we have started quite early to do some exports. And we were present in the second part of 90s at Verona Fair with an importer at that time, which unfortunately have bankrupt afterwards. But they had a really good selection of wines, and they were looking for new entries, for newcomers, or new areas, and they have found us as well. And when we were there with the wines, people which came there really loved white, so they were amazed. And when they came to the red, wow, is this possible? The same producer does so different white and red? Even if locally at that time our reds were good, were kind of a higher rank.
Right.
But that was completely different than market appreciated around. And then I said, look, it's not nice. We need to balance, to do something, or better not do reds. You know?
Right.
But you have the vineyard, so it's normal that you try to do something. So first step was that we have learned what are the values and what are the elements in reds which are appreciated from the customers to get a higher value and also higher price at the end. So we did then after that lots of changes. So we changed dramatically the vineyard management, lowered the yielding, did everything to get a better ripeness. We have changed all the barrel structure in the cellar because the barrels were local production. They were not constant, so sometimes green, sometimes astringent. So they were not what our wines needed. And then we did some small changes in the vinification as well. We have extended the aging. And then from the vintage to 1999, the results were shown, and we really had a great success and great impact with the serious level of the red wines. That was kind of a challenging thing for us, challenging idea, and the wines worked really well. So we were going in the direction to work on reds more intensively than some other people here.
Yeah, and predominantly Merlot, I guess, grows very well here.
It is predominantly Merlot. We do just the blends, so the blends more like right bank Bordeaux, so more because it's predominantly Merlot, Cap Franc, a little bit of Cabernet Sauvignon, but it's always 80 Merlot or more.
Yeah. So your sons, when did they decide that they were going to be in the business?
Our older son, I think he decided very early because since he was 2 or 3 years, always on a tractor, so never went down from the tractor. So probably he knew very quick or very early. No, then the final decision, he was really very active all the time, passionate on the tractors, on this machinery.
Yeah.
And then after the secondary schools, he went to university. He chose the economics. And after 1 year, he came back home. He said, look, I don't want to lose time in Ljubljana studying. I would like to work at home because I think at that time also my father or his grandfather was ill for a longer period. So it was a gap here, a bit more needed. And then he jumped in and he stayed, and he's now for more than 5 years working really well. He's doing lots of this machinery improvements and technology of the vineyard management. He takes care of the two guys who are our employers, who then he coordinates with them. The younger one is now at the first year of agricultural university. So it's more and more, seems to be more and more interested. It is a different profile,
Yes.
not so technical, not so, but a very sensitive palate. They're quite completing the team. Yeah. So I hope if he really decides to stay, that they can be a really great team cover in different areas.
Now, when we sat down, you had a white T-shirt on, which we had to make you change because white doesn't really work that well on camera. And you, on it, it said, it had your brand, the wine, Eddie Simčić, and it said underneath, we listen to nature, I think?
When nature speaks.
Oh, when nature speaks.
Eddie Simčić listen.
So where did that slogan come from? When nature speaks, Eddie Simčić listens.
Yeah, it was the slogan which came out when we were producing one of the brochures some years ago, and it's really pointing that we really have to listen to nature, because we are depending on nature. We are agriculture, so almost 100% of the work depends on the weather.
Yes.
Because if the weather, the climate does not work or is difficult, then we have a trouble. We have hailstorms, we can get frost, so we are really facing lots of time looking up in the sky where is a risk for hailstorm. Where it will go, it goes there or it goes there, or it will not happen. So in a few minutes, or maybe the whole year can be damaged, or some spring frosts which can happen and then can make a real damage, and you need to work the whole day anyhow to prepare the vines for next season. So that's the part which is important, and as well if you respect the nature, then nature always brings you back something.
Yeah, and that's interesting, because you can spend an enormous amount of time just working hard. Many people, and a hailstorm can move in and just wipe out all the work. And I guess so the weather coming off the Alps, I guess is how maybe some of that cold air that can suddenly drop a hailstorm.
We have here, our area is in between the two worlds, so we have a similar distance from the Adriatic Sea, which is like 15 kilometers, 10 miles from the Adriatic Sea, and the similar distance from the Julian Alps, which are 2,000 plus meters. And those can happen, the clashes of warm and cold air, but even sometimes the influence for the hailstorm have Dolomites, which are earlier, because usually the clouds and those comes from the west to that direction, and that depends how the winds are moving. So it's the influence also of that area and the warm area in Friuli. So there is a kind of a very hot and then the clash with and that sometimes it can appear.
How does the local community deal with this psychologically, where really the main industry here is the winemaking, and you've got, something happens that, after everybody's worked so hard, it kind of hits you hard. Do people get depressed? What happens?
Look, it is. I think the people here are really tough because they have passed very difficult situations, and they are really used to work. Lots of smaller growers, which are mainly the suppliers of the cooperative of Kletburda, have a first job somewhere else, and they are doing the afternoon, couple of hectares, or 2, 3, 4 hectares of vineyards, some fruit maybe. This is a part, but lucky part is that we have the spread property, and all these damages usually does not happen on a very wide area.
So it's narrow.
Yeah, it goes narrow and depends how it flows. So that is a helpful. Of course, it's sad situation, but you need to go over. That's the point. The very positive is seen now last few years that the economy is doing better, the wine sales are doing better in general, also for the cooperative, so the people immediately have more motivation. You see immediately renewing the vineyards, or the vineyards are better managed, so prepared. If you drive around now, the vineyards are really nicely managed.
Yeah.
You have seen, if you just drive around,
They look beautiful.
they very rarely find a vineyard which is not really prepared and clean and made in that way. So this is a reflection when the things are going a bit better, the people immediately get more motivation and passion on that. Yeah.
What do you think makes your wine different than other wines? I'm not saying necessarily better or worse, but what makes it different? What's unique about
with
it?
the wine is not is the better, not better. This is not the question. This is much more the small details or the stylistically how
Yes.
different producers are approaching that. So our approach and our idea of the wine is that to produce the wines with the structure, the wines which are rich, but at the same time with elegance, with finesse, with lots of those small details which make maybe a wine more pleasant or functioning well in the palate, but at the same time the wines which can age well.
Yeah.
So our whites, 10 years is not a big issue. So we tried really to do a consistent job over the last 20 years and just do the small details, try to do better, try to understand the proper usage of barrels, timing of picking, understand each grape variety and understand each location we have as much as we can, and then really get the proper timing of picking. So the idea is, yes, have a powerful, intense, rich wines, but not heavy, not too bold, but with the vertical characteristics, with finesse, and that's the idea.
So wine has been around for thousands of years, and it's probably more popular than ever. What do you think it does for people's lives that wine is so important?
I think the first of all, wine has really lots of variation. So if somebody is somehow known or want to enter into the wine, they really have lots of varieties, lots of areas, lots of stylistics. And besides of the pleasure when somebody likes or finds something he likes to drink, I think it's also become very important to know a little bit around the wine, to explain to the colleagues, to the friends, look, this, I've been there, I have bought this wine, I've had this and this vintage there. So all those things are making this, and I think that there are not many drinks which are so wide in the expressions, because every wine can find its own consumer.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the very beautiful part of the wine.
And so what do you see in the future for your family in the wine business? How do you see it going in 10, 20, 30 years from now?
As I said, and as I have explained, we have started from zero ground. So that was the starting point with the lack of knowledge, with very modest infrastructure and property. Now we are in a position where we did a lot for our brand, for reputation. Expertise is much better, so we have more stable wines for sure. We are less influenced from the year to the year, because there's more trust and more confidence when you are doing. So for sure the future is to continue to the work in the same direction, do the small improvements, cover maybe some more markets, and finalize here the new tasting room, and create here also an ambient for the people coming here, which can enjoy and that can really taste the wines which they can choose here, because we really have lots of older vintages, big vintages, so to have an experience which we'll remember then for the future.
The wine business requires a lot of investment, and there's also a lot of risk and challenges. It doesn't sound like your father had much of a business school background, as far as his training. So how are you and your father, how are you able to take a high-risk business, start from zero, and turn it into the success it is?
First of all, it was always a belief and somehow a wish to do a really great wine. That was a first strong thing. Second part, which was important, I cannot hide that. I used to work for years for an international company as a sales and marketing manager. So that helped a lot in a period when we were small to do a double job somehow. It was not easy in some periods, but it have helped to set properly the branding, the price positioning, to be a bit more somehow confident to go for foreign markets and to succeed in that part maybe. English, that was important in that period. Now with younger generation, everyone is more brave, but that was for sure a crucial. My father was doing great, but would never move the thing in that direction, for sure.
Right. So and did you have anything in the beginning that was either lucky that helped, or anything unlucky that almost killed the business?
There were two difficult periods. I think the first one was when one of the biggest companies, our importer in Italy at that time, bankrupt. So that we have that big of quite very high risk because we were just starting to do the first seller at that period, and so we overcome somehow. That was not easy. Luckily, we kept, or we met lots of people through them at that time, so we continue with other partners. And the second part was the economic crisis, 2009 to 2012 or 13, because we were working only in the premium segment, so that segment was under pressure. So some of the partners stopped dealing with the premium wines. US importer, for example, didn't buy any wine in 2009. It was just cleaning the stock, the warehouse. So the drop of the revenue was like 60% in 1 year. It was the same period we were doing. We have a guest house for tourism. We had that investment at the same time, so it was really not easy to go over that period, but then recovery in 2012, 13, 14, and then the things went really on the right track, I think.
It was a very hard fought to get to this point. Yeah.
Yes, the thing is how we are working here. Practically, what you see here, it's everything somehow. The bottles you see in the cellar, the barrels here, that's already that's all incomes from the previous years. So they are all paid. It's all it's just whatever you have here.
Yes.
It's you need to assure enough revenue from the past that you can invest and buy and to have the right product, which I will sell in 5 years or 7 years time. So it's really a long-term process. Also, very important is to estimate where to go really in a 7. We have some wines where the production cycle is 6, 7 years, 5 years. So if I think today for a specific wine, it will take me 5 to 7 years before the bottles will be on the market.
Wow. Yeah, so that's
the market can change 5 times in such a period. So it's important to have the clear view what you want. Our lucky part is that our size and the size of majority of our colleagues here permits us to do the wine we like, and then we try to sell.
I was going to say, what is this passion that makes you crazy enough to be in this business?
I don't know. To be really honest, it seems that you poison yourself with that, and then you cannot get out of it. I think that even if we would doesn't have the food to eat, we will buy a barrel to have a next production of the wine.
That's true passion, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's thank you for sharing your passion and your story, and your wines are beautiful. I really enjoyed at the masterclass drinking them, and since we've been here, you've been having us taste them, and they're just classic, beautiful wines. So thank you for sharing them with us.
Thank you very much for being in our area.
So Alex, now we have all 3 generations here.
Yes?
Yes.
So all of you are going to make wine? You guys are going into this business? Yes. Did you even have a choice or no?
Man Peter Nasen,
What did he say?
He said I have 85 and I'm still here.
You're still here, yeah. I tell him I think you might outlive these two. So I want you to interpret, because I'm interested for your father, what he thinks, that to see all this new construction and how the business is growing. Did he ever imagine it would be like this?
Nej.
No.
But here you are, and it becomes the ultimate family business through generations. For the two sons now, or grandsons, what is your vision for the future? What do you see for this winery?
Well, we both hope that it's going to grow as it's growing now, and we're going to keep up with the quality as we were doing till now.
Same as my brother said, I too, my wish is to keep up with my father and grandfather's work and to keep the quality of wines as they are now and keep growing.
So what is it like? Do you enjoy seeing each other, working together all day and being around for just family time and work time?
I think it's we have more family time now when we work and not going to school anymore so much than we had before, when each one was in his school, and my father was at work in Ljubljana, my mother was at work in Nova Gorica as well. So I think that we are seeing much more each other since when we are all together at the winery.
So I see on the shirts, your slogan again is "When nature speaks, Eddie Simčić listens," right? And now you're building this magnificent new winery with tasting room, et cetera, very modern. And you have these cages where you're putting rocks for the walls everywhere. So where are these rocks from? Why these rocks?
The rocks are here because we really wanted to have the domestic color of as the winery is planned as a big part of the terrace. Mm-hmm. So we'll be well integrated in the ambient. And we were looking for the stones to make the walls, but we were really struggling to find the proper color. And then at the end we decided to use the real original stones from our vineyards. Uh-huh. We will crush them, and then they will make the walls and be part. And this is really something which is really the closest stones you can get, which were here. Some was here in the cellar at the basement. So we took them out and crushed and filled the.
Yeah, it's really amazing how the themes keep coming through. How to use the vineyards, right, and how it creates the environment. So now even you have the stones out of the vineyard; they're making up the walls of this this new tasting room, this new winery. So really beautiful, brilliant, and natural. So I guess you are listening to nature, huh?
Yeah, it was a period when people have forgot to listen to nature, and then we have several problems because of that.
Yes.
So it's very important to listen to nature and think about the future, because our younger generation still have to live a long time, and we need to preserve the nature for them.
Indeed, for sure. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of wines you guys make. I'll be looking out and hopefully getting some, and I'll let you know. I'm sure it's going to be very good, though.
Me too.
Thanks all for coming out.
Yeah, thanks to you.
That completes my interview with Alex Simčić. Again, great winemaker, producing a high-quality product. Definitely has its own unique characteristics. Really enjoyed their wines and happy to share this with you.